Howdy, guys, and welcome to a recap of episode 9 of Survivor Season 41. And welcome to Cliff Notes from a long way away from this island. Man, I got to say, the episodes this season have been so action-packed, and episode 9 is no different. Jeff Probst, you could probably stretch some of these things out to 2 hours and let us see a little more discussion of strategies and such. And we as viewers would all be incredibly happy to see it. But it didn't happen. We had a whole lot taking place in a single hour. So with that in mind, let's get right into it and talk about what happened. Now, first of all, as a little bit of a refresher, remember that last week we lost Tiffany in yet another crazy tribal council with people running around talking everywhere. We lost Tiffany. I hated to see it, but Tiffany is gone. But that doesn't mean there aren't plenty of issues and repercussions that are still taking place based on what happened at last week's tribal council. First of all, Xander and Evie, yeah, they survived last week, but they should be extremely nervous. They are kind of the two outcasts remaining from Team Yaze. Now, Liana's a former Team Yaze member as well, but she's kind of fallen into her new alliance. So Xander and Evie definitely are on the outs compared to everyone else on the tribe. Nasir has to be unhappy that his name was thrown out last week. Heather saying, hey, just get out, Nasir. So he can't be happy at all. And Deshawn and Chantel, theoretically, they're aligned as part of this Camp Out Alliance, but they just don't seem to be playing that well together. Deshawn doesn't like the way that Chantel talks to him a little bit, and he feels like she's been a little bossy and such. So a lot of friction taking place as a result of last week's episode, last week's tribal council. So let's see what happens. Now, first of all, sure enough, right after the tribal council, we've got Deshawn expressing frustration with a few people. First of all, he's expressing some frustration with Heather that she tried to shake everything up. They thought the plan was in place, and then suddenly she stirs everything up. Made for a great tribal, but I too question why Heather kind of waited last minute and then seemed to stir the pot. It just put a big target on her back. But that's last week, so let's move on. But Deshawn is not real happy with her. But he's even more frustrated, we'll just say that, with Shan, because he's saying she wanted him to vote Heather at the last tribal council, which he didn't want to do, and he just felt like she was too busy telling him what he needed to do instead of listening to what he wanted to do. So these two are not very happy with each other. We've got Deshawn telling Evie and Nasir that he's done with Shan. He's through with it. He's looking for a new tribe. He's just tired of the way she talks to him. You never know. Is that true, or is that just him trying to distance himself a little bit from these others, members of his alliance? Is he just saying that for the benefit of Evie and Nasir, or does he truly feel that way? I think he truly does feel a little frustrated. We'll see what happens as we go into it. But certainly that is music to Evie's ear. She wants to see these alliances and the people that feel like they're in power. She wants to see the cracks develop. She wants to see some infighting going on with each other. I know the feeling. I know what it's like to be on the outs and just wait for that moment where you can capitalize and kind of push along some conflicts with the alliances and everything. And Evie sees that opportunity. We'll see if it pays off or not. But the problem with that is, as sometimes happens with these types of situations, we do see, I think it maybe is the next morning, we see Shan and Deshawn, looks like they've made up and are on better terms, even if they still don't completely trust or want to work with each other. I think they're understanding that it's to their benefit to do so, even if there's some friction there. So I think maybe it won't impact gameplay going forward, at least not now. Now, in the end game, it's going to come to a head at some point. There isn't a trust there that's going to allow them to work together. So something's going to happen a little further down the road. But at least for this week, maybe they are going to continue to work together. All right. So with that, now here's the thing. Deshawn's doing a pretty good job. Deshawn he's playing a lot of sides. He's playing a little bit of the floater role. Yes, he's still in the Camp Out Alliance. He's got some of those friends of his working together. So he still has the Camp Out Alliance, but he's also still trying to stay tight with Evie. They met on an island multiple episodes ago, pledged to work together. They're making the pledge again. He's saying, I'm not voting you out, Evie. And she's saying, I'm not voting you out either. So that Sean is trying to play a lot of different angles, and there's nothing wrong with that. Meanwhile, we've got Nasir. Remember, Nasir was kind of thrown under the bus last episode of the Tribal, and he's not happy. But I give Nasir a lot of credit. He's trying to make amends, make good with Heather. He's saying, look, it's water under the bridge. What happened last night, it's done. Let's just move forward. Page 1, start all over again and everything. And just because you threw me under the bus last night, it's done. Let's just move on, Heather. But Heather is trying to really emphasize that she didn't write his name down. And he's saying, yeah, but you threw my name under the bus. And she's saying, yeah, but I didn't write your name down, even if I threw you under the bus. Two different things. Well, is it? I'm not sure. In a lot of ways, throwing your name out, making you a target, sometimes is even worse than just putting your name down on the eviction vote. Sometimes I think so. She's trying to see the difference, or she's trying to talk to Nasir about the difference. And Nasir saying, yeah, it doesn't really matter. And I tend to agree with Nasir on this. But here's some interesting conversations we had last night or on the episode itself. We learned why Xander voted against Nasir, because he was kind of it was an unexpected vote for Xander to vote against Nasir. Well, as it turns out, it was a bit of a hinky vote. Just a bit of a vote that Xander cast to cause a little chaos and paranoia as people try to figure out who voted against Nasir, and Nasir still thinking it may be Heather. So Xander threw it out. It's just a hinky vote. Now you don't see that, and it worked because now Nasir's upset. You don't see that as much in Survivor as you do in Big Brother, where we have hinky votes all the time. And I think it's just because you don't have as many situations in Survivor where you are comfortable enough about your position and your alliance's position to cast a vote of that matter. In Big Brother, once it comes to eviction night, you're safe. There's only 2 people going home typically. Not the case in Survivor, where anyone that doesn't have an immunity idol could go home. So you don't see as much, but Xander cast this hinky vote, and it actually worked. It stirs up a little trouble. I got to say, I underestimated Xander coming in on the preview and such. Xander's playing a very interesting game. I'm enjoying watching him play the game. All right, now, the good thing that we saw in this episode, the tribe now has rice, because we had the people that stepped off and didn't compete in immunity competition last week, 4 of them. Because of that, they've got enough rice for everyone for 3 days. A big old pot. It's got to make people happy. It's got to make them feel a little more comfortable. So yeah, enjoy the rice, guys, because unlike other seasons, you haven't had it all season long. Sure beats papaya. It sure doesn't create as much conflict as papaya can, right? So they do have rice, and we watch them enjoying that. After that, we get a little expose, a little confessional type situation. We get Ricard talking about the fact that he's partially deaf. I think he's completely deaf in his right ear, that he reads lips to help him out. Now, that's a definite advantage, right? I would think being able to read lips certainly would be helpful. But a nice little moment to talk about Ricard. And I got to say, there's a lot of people on social media that are calling Ricard a villain, that don't really seem to like him or anything else. I like the guy. I've enjoyed his play. Is it perfect? No, not at all. No one's play is perfect, I don't think, this season, but it doesn't have to be. Ricard is playing with a passion. He's an interesting guy. I'm cheering for him. Villain or not, I've enjoyed Ricard's play so far. All right, let's talk about some other things that happened in the episode. We've got Shan, who's gathered the cookout, the camp out alliance. Sorry about that. The cookout camp. She's gathered the camp out alliance. But here's the thing. She has done it right in front of Xander and Erica, which, why? Why would you be that blatant, that out in the open about who your tightest connections are? I don't get it. I think it's just a little too confident. We'll call it a little too cocky, perhaps, that you would not care really about Xander and Erica and what they know or they don't know. That's the impression that was given off. Now, of course, there could be a lot of editing that goes in with this. Maybe it wasn't quite as obvious. Who knows? But it sure looked like it was obvious based on what we're seeing. But here's the thing. They've got to be careful. The Cookout Alliance is only 4 people. There's 6 other people left. So you don't have the majority. You should never be too comfortable in your position. But certainly when you only represent 40% of the people left on the island, you got to be careful. We'll see if that maybe has some repercussions on down the road. But yeah, you have it here. In Big Brother, why did the Cookout Alliance do so well? It's because they made a point of never having all of them together in a room at one time to keep it on the absolute down low. No one else would suspect it until it's too late. It doesn't appear that this is happening as well with the camp out alliance. So we'll see. Now here's a discussion a little bit. We see Liana talking about how badly she wants Xander out of the game. She wanted him out before last week, but after she tried to use his advantage, he gave her the fake one instead. She lost her power. She definitely now has it out for Xander. He is her target. He probably is going to remain his target as long as both of them are in the game. She wants him out the door. So that's who Liana wants. But Sean is leaning a lot more towards getting out Erica. She mentions that she thinks Erica is smart. She's got connections and all of that. Now, I haven't seen it that much. Erica was kind of the low person on a totem pole when she was over with Team Luvu. They were about ready to, heck, Sean Deshaun and Danny were ready to throw some immunity comps just to get Erica out. So I'm not sure Erica has quite the power that Shan is assuming she does. But anyway, Shan wants Erica out. Liana most definitely wants Xander out. We'll see how that comes into play. So we get to today's challenge, just a reward challenge. That's it. You got to stand on a tiny little platform and hold your hand up and hold on to a couple of handles for as long as you can. If your feet or your hands come off, you're out. It looks hard. It reminds me of the wall competition from Big Brother, just a pure strength endurance type competition, and just creates a lot of pain in your feet and your back and your shoulders and everywhere else. But it's not that simple in Survivor, because there's a twist, and here's a twist. They're actually split up, 10 people. They're split up into 2 random teams. They draw. They don't show the draw, but some kind of random draw, split up into 2 teams of 5. And we're actually going to see in the episode that one person from each of these 2 random teams wins immunity. They're going to have 2 separate tribal councils, and one person from each of these random teams is going home. Now, that's hard, because suddenly a team of 5, someone wins immunity. That means there's only 4 other people that can get sent home. So if you don't win immunity, there's a 25% chance that you could be heading out the door on the boat. I guess it's more on the boat off the island when you're talking Survivor, right? So yeah, the odds are they're a lot higher that you could be the target this week because of this split up. I love it. It was a cool twist. I like seeing it. But 2 people going home this week, and one more twist. Whoever stays up the longest, from whichever tribe it is, whoever stays up the longest out of everyone wins an reward for their whole tribe, and the reward is chicken and stew for their teammates. Which, again, food a little more important this season than some of the past seasons. This random draw is huge. We were talking just a second ago about the Cookout Alliance and how maybe they're feeling pretty comfortable with each other. You could be in the most perfect position of anyone on that island, and if from pure random chance you end up on a tribe with a lot of people that aren't working with you, your game could be over right then. So the random draw is absolutely huge, and what we see is that the first tribe, and I don't know what the names are, we'll call them blue and yellow, I guess, but the first tribe, which is blue, consists of Erica, Shan, Ricard, Nasir, and Heather. Well, now Ricard and Sean are going to be working together, right? So we've got those Ricard and Sean sticking together. Nasir has an idol, so people probably a little more worried about going against him, thinking he could play his idol. So it really seems to me at this point in time that Heather and Erica are probably the biggest targets and the ones that most need to win this immunity idol. On the other tribe, we'll call the yellow tribe, we've got Deshaun, Evie, Liana, Xander, and Danny. So we've got Deshaun, Liana, and Danny all still together on this tribe. They certainly represent 3 out of 5. They represent the majority in this group. I would expect them to stick together, which means that Evie and Xander are very much at risk. But since Xander has the idol, I really, and it creates concern about whether he may use it on himself or not. I do wonder if that makes Evie the most likely target from this particular tribe. But here's the deal. Deshawn just got through telling Evie a little earlier in the episode, I'm not voting against you. And she said, I'm not going to vote against you. Deshawn may have to make a tough choice at this point in time. Is he going to stick with his alliance, or is he going to stick with Evie, or is he going to take a chance on Xander? Deshawn may have a hard decision to make here in a second. Game begins, competition begins. They do pretty well. And no one falls immediately like we saw last week, but Evie is the first one out, and eventually she's followed by Heather. After that, they start falling a little faster. We see Shannon and Liana both fall, and then Danny. I tell you what, you see that little ledge that your feet have to stay on. I don't know how any of the guys are able to stay on there. Slightly bigger feet and all of that. So yeah, it's tough, but we do start seeing people fall. So we end up at the end with either Deshawn or Xander on the blue tribe is going to win immunity. And on the other tribe, the yellow tribe, or the blue, these colors don't mean anything anyway, right? On one tribe, Deshawn and Xander are the last two left. On the other tribe, it's Erica, Ricard, and Nasir. Now here's the thing. Time for deal making. I would think maybe so. If you're up on the ledge with only one other person, I think this would be a good opportunity to say, look, if you'll tell me that I'm safe, I'll tell you that you're safe as well. And it seems like it's maybe something that you could do with this point. Maybe not so much Deshawn and Xander, but certainly on the other side, I think it seems like a good idea. If I'm Ricard, Nasir, or Erica, I'm promising not to write down the other two names if they agree not to write my name down, because it seems like Heather would just be an easy potential choice that's not really going to offend anyone, bother anyone too much. And so that's what I would have been pushing for at this moment in time. But it doesn't matter. No deals are made. Ricard falls. He's out. So it comes down to Erica versus Nasir and Xander versus Deshawn. And the winner from the first tribe, we'll call it the blue tribe, Nasir falls and Erica wins immunity. Erica needed immunity, I think, this week. I think she was in a lot of trouble. So now Erica is safe on that side. And I think that's incredibly bad news for Heather. And at this point now, because soon after that, Erica falls off as well. So now we know that the other tribe, the yellow tribe, will be getting the reward of the chicken soup, chicken stew, and all of that. But we don't know who it's going to be. Is it going to be Xander or Deshawn? And they show, I think they went 33 minutes plus or minus, if I recall. And these guys are both suffering, but they're giving it everything they've got. Admire them for staying up there as long as they did. I know how hard it's got to be, but the eventual winner of the overall challenge and the winner of the other immunity for the week is Xander. And Xander, he's got an immunity idol. He's got an advantage, and now he's got the immunity challenge idol as well. The guy's a wealth of riches right now, right? So Xander has won immunity. Liana is not happy. Remember, we said Liana, her sole mission at this point in time is to get Xander out. She starts going off, not in front of him. It's a confessional, but she's saying, maybe not so much confessional. Seems like she's telling some of the other people on the sidelines, but she's saying, I can't stand his face. I can't stand anything about him. I want him gone so bad. I get it. I absolutely get it. You got kind of burned with the advantage that you thought you'd be able to use, and it didn't work out. But I am a firm believer, be it Survivor, be it Big Brother, anything else. Sometimes if you get too emotional, if you're so focused on getting out a target just because it sometimes tempers your ability to play the logical game that maybe takes you further down the road. I certainly think no matter how much Liana wants Xander gone, if she lets other people know about it too much, it's not going to help her game. She's got to keep it on the down low, but she wants Xander gone, and Xander knows about it as well. He's got to know that he's her big target. But here's the thing, because Xander is one, because the other three people on that tribe are Danny, Deshawn, and Liana, I really think Evie is in a bad spot. I hate to see that, but I think Evie's in a bad spot. But is there a chance that Xander would use his veto on Evie? He's already got safety because of the veto he just won, the immunity idol. His veto. We're getting some overlap here. No, not a bit. Is there a chance that Xander, knowing he's safe with the immunity idol he just won, would play his immunity idol he got earlier in the season, the three-way Vita immunity idol? Would he play that on Evie to protect both of them and force Deshawn, Danny, and Liana to basically one of them to go home and break up this bit of an alliance? Because again, Xander saw them all talking amongst each other. So there's certainly motivation to do it, but it involves him losing this idol that he really wants to hold on to. So I don't know. It all comes down to this. What is more important to Xander right now? Get out one of the people that he maybe considers a bit of a power player, or to protect Evie, who maybe he thinks could work with him and would be a loyal alliance going forward. That's what he's potentially going to have to choose. And sure enough, with all that being said, Xander and Evie are looking at Liana as their target of choice, thinking that she's probably the most likely person that they can get out, that they should get out, and so that's who they're targeting. It makes sense since she already tried to take that idol from Xander, and since she was part of the original Yaze tribe, so that kind of betrayed, turned her back on the rest of the Yaze tribe members. So yeah, Xander and Evie have figured out the target. Whether they can make it happen or not, we're going to find out. Because meanwhile, Danny, Deshawn, and Liana are turning around saying, we're gunning for Evie, which is to be expected since Xander won the immunity idol. Xander is making sure it's all about perception and intents and motives and everything else. Xander's making sure that Liana knows that he is absolutely considering playing his idol, playing it on Evie to make sure she's safe. He wants to make her a little bit nervous, not let her think that everything's cut and dried and they can just boot Evie without any considerations. But Liana responds back and she's saying, look, Xander, I'd feel a lot safer if you would, I trust you and all of that. Yeah, right. She said, I trust you and everything, but I sure would feel a lot safer that you aren't going to use that idol. If you would just give it to me to hold on to, and then I'll give it back to you after tribal council, just so I know that you're not going to use it. And if that's the case, then maybe you and I can work together. And I think she says, go after Deshawn. Well, Xander says, yeah, I may give it to someone, but I'm not giving it to you. If Xander had given Liana his idol at that point in time, I would just voted to send him out the door right at that very point in time, because there's no way he was going to do that. There's no way he should have said that or agreed to that. And of course he says no. Ain't gonna happen, Liana. Not a chance in the world. Later, though, Xander does tell Deshawn, says, look, Liana's throwing your name out. She's saying that you would be who she'd be willing to get rid of, that she'd be potentially willing to work with me. Now, I don't believe that she was serious when she said that. We know that Xander's her target, but just the fact that she threw out another name, whether true or not, is setting off Deshawn a little bit. He's not happy to hear that at all. Again, Deshawn's already distanced himself a little bit from Shan, and now with Liana saying that, I feel like he's even further distancing or feeling distance from others in that Camp Out Alliance. So we now have Danny and Deshawn both saying that they would just soon work with Xander and send out Liana. They're telling Xander this. They're really trying to downplay any past connections, alliances, saying, look, we know that Liana, threw my name out, and Xander, we know you've got aisles. Let's just work together. Let's get her out the door. We'll all be happy and everything works out well. And it seems like Xander's maybe buying into it to some degree. But Danny later talks to Xander and says, look, Evie is really dangerous. She's really a threat to everyone's game. I don't know if you can trust her as much as you think you can. And after he says all of that, he gives Xander pause. Xander talks to the cameras and says, I kind of was thinking I could work with him, but now the way Danny's talking, I just don't know that they're really going to work with me. It may just be a little more talk than anything else. And he's right. He's right to worry. I don't think he would get Danny and Deshawn on board to vote out Liana. I'm just not buying it just yet. So Xander's suspecting there may be more under the surface than what's actually being said. So on to the other tribe. What tribe? I don't care what color it is. The other tribe. It really looks like what turns out. It looks like Erica and Heather have become a duo. Now, I didn't really see that. I didn't see Erica and Heather being that tight during previous episodes this season. Maybe I just missed it. Maybe the episodes haven't really shown it. But suddenly Erica seems very protective of Heather. She doesn't want her gone. Maybe they're just kind of being forced together because they both know that people have been gunning for them, that maybe they aren't the top of the totem pole, so to speak. But Erica and Heather are a duo. Sean and Ricardo are definitely a duo, which leaves Nasir in the middle as a bit of a wild card. In other words, potentially the power broker. Well done, Nasir. He could be the deciding vote if it comes down to these two other duos kind of going against each other. But of course, Nasir wants Heather gone. She threw out his name at the last tribal council. He called her on it. And so he's ready to get Heather gone. And he's so confident in the outcome of how this tribal council is going to go that he actually tells Heather. And he is sitting there with Heather and Erica. He says, look, I hate to do it, nothing personal, but Heather, you're going home. You're going home with this tribal council. It's just the way it is. Well, we should know, everyone should know better. Foreboding, right? When you make such declarations that it is what it is and all, you should know that's not ever gonna be the way it actually goes. And when you get that comfortable as Nasir is, you know that trouble is coming, and trouble is coming indeed. So Nasir is convinced that Heather's going home and tells her that. But Erica responds to this by telling Nasir, said, look, why don't you play the idol on Heather and we'll get out Shannon or Ricard instead? Why? Well, why would Nasir want to waste his idol? Maybe waste is the wrong word. But why would Nasir want to give up his idol to Heather and to protect her when she just got through throwing his name under the bus at the last tribal council? So Nasir responds as is to be expected, say, yeah, nah, that is not going to happen. Heather, you're not getting my idol. He just got through saying that she was going home, but Erica tries. She's trying to make something happen. And Erica is talking about it. She says, look, to Heather, she says, I'd love to vote out Nasir instead. We know he's got the idol. He was going after you last week, Heather, and he's been going after you. Let's just vote Nasir out, see if we can make something happen. And so they talk to Ricard. Ricard seems willing to play. He seems willing to work with Erica and Heather to send out Nasir, because he views Nasir as a threat as well, since Nasir has the idol and such. So he's ready to play ball with the two ladies. But Shan is ready for Heather to be gone. She wants Heather out the door. I'm still not 100% convinced or understanding exactly why Shan was so much more focused on Heather than she was on Nasir originally. Nasir has an idol. Flush it out, or even better, just get rid of it completely. But now she wants Heather gone. So there's a little bit of friction there as they're working this through. Ricard at one point says, look, why don't you give me the extra vote to send out Nasir, just so we can make this happen? But again, Shan doesn't really seem to be willing. We'll see what happens at tribal council. So the blue tribe first. We get the first tribe up for tribal council. This is Nasir and Heather, Erica, Shannon, Ricard. I think I got them all. This is their tribe. Heather seems very much that she's giving up, but that's all part of the perception, right? They do not want Nasir playing his idol. So the more Heather is acting like she's ready to go, it is what it is, the less threat or concern, that worry that Nasir maybe would play his idol and gum things up. Is Nasir buying it? Yeah, I think he is. He's just a little too confident, a little too cocky this week. We get towards the vote itself. Yet again, no one is playing their shot in the dark. They're 1 in 12. I guess what's 1 in 11 chance, I guess now, of playing their scroll and winning immediate immunity and immediate safety. Kind of surprises me. Now I get it. If you play your scroll and you don't get safety, you also lose your vote. So there's a downside to it, and I guess they think the vote is more important. But if I'm Heather and I truly think that there's a good chance I'm going home, her one vote probably wouldn't make as much of a difference as if she just won automatic safety. But Doesn't matter because no scrolls have been played and no idols played as well. Nasir is comfortable enough. He does not play his idol. Shan doesn't play an idol as well. And by a 3-2 vote, Heather has been picked. But first, there's been an extra vote played by Shan. She plays her extra vote, which leads, instead of a 3-2 vote to send Heather off the island, it turns into a tie between Heather and Nasir. Yes, the games are afoot. A 3-3 tie, which means it's a revote. And with 3, probably 4, we don't see all the votes being read out, but with at least 3 votes, Nasir's been outmaneuvered and is gone. He's been booted out of the tribe. He is off the island, or at least over to the Ponderosa to hang out for the rest of the season as a second member of jury. So much for my favorites. I love Nasir. I really was excited to see him play. I still like the guy. I look forward to meeting him at some point on down the road. But Nasir has been voted out when he was not thinking that there was any chance he was heading out the door. So here, before we move on to the other tribal council, why the extra vote? Why did Shan? Because when we look at it, Shan actually cast 1 vote for Heather and 1 vote for Nasir. So she used her extra vote. She used up that power, that advantage, and then she cast votes for 2 different people. So why the extra vote? Well, Shan could have just voted out Nasir, right? And if that was the case, it would have been 3-2 vote. Nasir goes home. They don't need a revote. There's no tie, anything else. So on the surface, that looks like the best way to go, and she saves her advantage. But if she and Ricard vote to send Nasir out the door, along with Heather and Erica, and suddenly Nasir uses the idol because he's worried about things, and he cast a vote for Ricard or for Shan, then by a single vote, one of them could have been heading out the door. So I think that's the reason she went ahead and cast 2 votes, so that even if Nasir did use his idol, they at least had a vote cast for both 2 other people, or in this case, at least for Heather, because Nasir's vote wouldn't count. But at least there'd be a vote cast for Heather, and a better chance that they could then, whether a tie or not, make sure Heather went out the door. So I think her extra vote was cast just to guarantee, just to ensure that they didn't get caught off guard and one of them head out the door. You know, better safe than sorry, I suppose. So at the end of the night, Nasir is out the door. I miss you already. I was looking forward to Nasir's game. He just got a little too comfortable. And now on to the next tribe. And this tribe, and now here's something interesting. This tribe goes second. They actually get to watch the first tribe that just got through. They get to watch all the discussions, everything that happens with the second tribe. I'm a little surprised. Sometimes when we've had 2 tribal councils in a single night, the first tribe has to leave. They don't get to see the results of the second. That's a huge advantage. You're already done with your tribal. Now you get to watch everything and see the interactions of politics with the second group. I'm a little surprised that they got to stick around, but stick around, they did. So they get to do that. Now, they see that Nasir just got sent home. They all know that Nasir had an idol that obviously he didn't play. Does that give Xander pause about the maneuvers that might have been going on, about whether maybe he should be considering using his own idol to protect Evie? He's safe because he won immunity, but it may give him pause about some of the maneuvering that's taking place within his own little tribal council, and whether maybe he's fully aware of everything that's happened. But as Jeff goes around the group of 5 and asks them how comfortable they are with the plan that they think's getting ready to happen, all 5 of them said, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable. I know what's going to happen. And they all feel like they're pretty safe. Someone's going to get burned. Nasir already got blindsided. Looks like we're going to get blindside number 2 in a single episode. Again, no scrolls played. Why? I know why. It's because no one wants to give up their vote. And it probably makes sense, but I was expecting to see these things being used a lot more. Maybe going forward, we have something other than losing your vote in exchange for making your Hail Mary pass. Just have no penalties, but you only get to use it once. Maybe we'd see more of that happen going forward. No scrolls played, and no idols played. You know, we talked about, does Xander use his idol on Evie, protect her, and force one of the other 3 to go home? Nah, he wants to hold on to his idol. I can't say I blame him, not at all. But he's thinking long term instead of short term. But it is important to protect some of your interest, your who you think you can be loyal to. I think it all gets back to the fact that Evie told Deshaun all about Xander's powers when they met together on the island, I think Xander's still keeping that in the back of his head. Doesn't matter. Xander does not use his idol. He is safe because the idol he won, the immunity. But Evie very much is not safe. And by a 3-2 vote, Evie indeed is going home. Man, I hate to see that too. I got to say, I underestimated Evie in my preview. I said, yeah, she may do all right. I don't know if I could work with her a lot and everything. I love the way I enjoyed watching Evie play, both as a person, as a strategy standpoint. She was a scrapper. She was a fighter. Yeah, I hate to see her. There are so many people on this cast this season that I really have enjoyed watching. I pretty much say it every single episode. I hate to see the person gone. Certainly the case this evening, but Evie is gone. So here's a big question before we shut down. Why didn't Xander play his extra vote? He had an extra vote just like Shan did. If he had played that, then theoretically it could have been a 3-3 tie. So if he had played his extra vote, he could have forced, again, that 3-3 tie between Evie and Liana, right? Those are the two, because Xander and Evie very much wanted Liana gone. So we would have 3-3 tie between Evie and Liana. Then on a revote, he gets that vote he cast on the initial vote. He also gets to use it on the revote itself. So on a revote, if he had used both of his votes on Liana and Deshaun and Danny still stuck with their vote against Evie, you have a second tie. When it comes down to a second tie, you draw rocks, not for the first two people who were nominated, not with the person who had won immunity, but everyone who is left, which in this case was only going to be Deshaun and Danny. So if Deshaun and Danny had stuck with their guns, voted out Evie again, the two of them would have had to draw rocks and one of them would have gone home, which means if Xander had used that extra vote, if he had forced a tie, Deshaun and Danny would have been forced, in order to protect their own game, they would have been forced to flip their votes and vote out Liana instead in order to save themselves, which means that Xander could have gone ahead and achieved what he and Evie wanted of sending Liana out the door. I think it was a missed opportunity from Xander's part to not cast that vote, but you do the best you can. It's just one of those things, and just something that he'll think back on afterwards and say, yeah, maybe I could have done something different then. But it is what it is. So we've lost Evie, we've lost Nasir this week. It's going to be a loss to the tribe, but hey, that's what happens in Survivor. All right, so there you go, guys. So much going on this week, but we lost two pretty strong players. We got an idol that got booted, that never got used from Nasir, which means we very well, I don't know, is an idol going to come back into play? He owned one of the part of that three-way idol. I don't know if that'll show back up or it's just gone for the rest of the season. We're going to see more idols show up at this campsite, right? It's got to be. But now, fantastic, action-packed, lots of strategy. Everyone playing this game is playing it on an uber level, and it's exactly what I love to see. Again, Jeff, if you ever want to make this an hour and a half, 2 hours, I'm game, because I'd love to see a little more strategy discussion as well. But another fantastic episode. I will be back next week for episode 10. Until then, if you get a chance, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel. You'll get notifications as soon as these recaps post. Certainly, if you would, please like the video as well. I appreciate it. Guys, y'all have a fantastic rest of the week. SKD 143. I will see y'all next week for another recap of Survivor Season 41. Cheers, my friends.